let's get into the match review. West Ham 1, Tottenham 0 yesterday at the London Stadium. Look, you got to say that it wasn't a disastrous London derby like the previous ones have been, like the Chelsea one was, like the Palace one was, like the Arsenal one was. I thought the performance was quite a way better than it was in those 3 games. But still, we couldn't find a way through. Creativity was a massive flaw. Look, I say creativity was a massive flaw, but we were getting in really good positions. We had good chances to score in the game. But the kind of quality in the final third really did let us down on a number of occasions yesterday. And if these players like Kane, Ndombele, Reguilon, I know Reguilon put in a few good crosses during the game, but and sometimes where the men were free in the box, he put in poor crosses. So I think that if those moments and we could have provided more quality, I think we actually would have won the game yesterday.
I think, West Ham really struggled to, I wouldn't say contain us, but they struggled to definitely create any chances against us. I think their game plan was to get the ball to Antonio. He was to get the ball, hold the ball up as Spurs were pressing them, and then he would bring other players into play and create chances. It worked a couple of times in the first half. I remember Souček had a header, and I remember Fornals had a volley at the back post, which Lloris made a good save. But other than that, they really did struggle, West Ham, and they struggled a lot more than Spurs struggled, I can tell you that. Like, they were really struggling to influence the game, West Ham, for large parts of that. And Tottenham, it seemed like Romero was like a trigger for how Tottenham would attack, actually, in a weird way. He would win the ball back, and all of a sudden Tottenham would spring as soon as he wins the ball back off Antonio. And that happened a number of times yesterday, and it was working really, really solidly, except Spurs didn't find that goal or a really clear-cut. We've had a few clear-cut openings. We weren't able to make the most of them. And that was the most frustrating thing yesterday. And I think Nuno tactically yesterday, but probably I can see what his plan was. I really could see what his plan was yesterday, and it was working for large parts, but we just didn't execute it perfectly in the final third, and that's what cost us in the end. And then obviously when it's 0-0, I think that after about 60 minutes, the openings did start to dry up, to be fair, for about a 10-minute spell. But they didn't have it. It was just like a very tight game for about 10 minutes. And then, so at that point I would have made a change once those openings start to dry up, which he didn't, Nuno. He kept it the same because maybe he thought we could regain control again. But then they scored in pretty much the perfect time because the openings stopped happening for Tottenham, and then they get a goal out of nothing from a set piece, which actually was caused from a mistake from Reguilon before that. And as soon as that goal went in, it was like it was game over. That's the most annoying thing. It was like I could see it. I remember watching. I was like, if they score, that's it. There's nothing we can do now.
I don't understand his thinking behind the subs. I just don't get it whatsoever. We were saying it here, sitting here watching the game. I'm sure many other people were saying it around, in the stadium, watching it on TV. Everyone could see that we needed some extra energy to go and regain that game and go on and get the winner. Why does he wait so long every time to make a sub? It's like when he was doing his coaching badges or something, did he miss out that module on how to use substitutions? Like, it's ridiculous. Every single game, the same thing happens in terms of substitutions, waiting so long.
I think Brains McLeod said it perfectly last week. When he's like, I think when Nuno sees an element of control, he doesn't want to disturb it, and I think that's what he did yesterday. I think he saw Spurs creating more openings than West Ham, so he was like, well, there's no need to change it now. But what he didn't account for was for about a 10-15 minute period, things just started going stale a bit and things started slowing down. I think that was the moment he's got to quickly make a sub. It's like, okay, let's get a bit more energy. Maybe if with that bit extra impetus, and that extra bit of sharpness potentially, we can get a few more openings and maybe carve a few more chances out of West Ham. But we didn't do that. It's like, no, we want to hold our ground a bit. Let's just keep it how it is. And then we kind of sleptwalked to defeat after that, unfortunately. And that was the most frustrating thing for me. I think as soon as West Ham got in their shape after going 1-0 up, that was it.
Yeah.
And it felt like whatever change he made at that point wasn't going to make a difference.
Point, yeah.
Once we're 1-0 down, it didn't matter what change he made. because it was like we don't know how to play through a team when they're settled. Yeah. And West Ham also, not only do we not know how to play through most teams, West Ham are very good at defending. So even at the best of times, they're going to be tough to break down. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of teams can would struggle to break down that team.
Yeah. But, you know, when you're on top, you know, we weren't even on top that much, but when you were on top and you've got a bit of good feeling during the game and you're going for the game and things are just not going your way, make some changes, put some extra energy into the game, try to impact things in a positive way instead of saying, oh, you know what, things are going well, let's just keep it how it is. You know what I mean? He
should be able to foresee things before, you know, as Pochettino used to say, you have to realise it's going to go wrong before it goes wrong. That's how a manager has to be, unfortunately, in the Premier League. And I think West Ham got a bit lucky with the goal, and I think they got a bit lucky to win the game. I think they all admit that themselves, most West Ham fans, that they got lucky, not necessarily to get anything out of the game, but to win the game. I think you got to say they got a bit lucky with it. But once they got in the lead, that wasn't luck. Like,
completely comfortable.
That wasn't luck. They were so comfortable. We had nothing. We had absolutely nothing, and that shows I think for me, that's what Conor Cody was saying before, how they just relied on counter-attacks before and transitions. That's what we're seeing at Tottenham at the moment.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, and that's what everyone was worried about before but the thing is, you can be exciting and you can be attacking within this system. And, you know, we could have got 2 or 3 goals yesterday, and it doesn't mean it's boring, but it definitely looks boring and it looks lethargic when we're 1-0 down with 20 minutes to go. Then it's like, what is he doing?
Yesterday, basically the two ways of moving forward was either Romero to push out from defence and go on one of his runs, or Romero or Dyer to hoof it to Reguilon.
Yeah,
that was basically our 2 patterns of play. You know, building from the back. That's all we did yesterday.
Correct.
I don't understand why we can't just do a few passing moves. You know, move forward progressively. Why can't we do that?
I think I would say personnel, but I don't know if it is the personnel. I do think it's more the coaching, to be honest, at the moment. I don't know whether it just is a process or whether that's just not what he's just not what he's concentrating on the training pitch. Because I think within Ndombele, I know Højbjerg and Skip are not the most unbelievable on the ball footballers, but I think they're good enough. Especially Højbjerg and Ndombele, they're good enough that they should be able to
even
play the passes through the lines quickly. Skip as well, your goal was at times was given a bit more license to go forward, and he was looking all right.
Just the beginning of the second half, yeah.
Yeah, for the first 15 minutes of the second half, we were actually looking pretty solid.
That was our best moment in the game.
Yeah, that's when we should have gone for the kill. But I do think it's a coaching thing, because I think within Ndombele, I remember there was one moment where we were able to break the lines, and obviously Reguilon should have played it to Skip and we should have scored, but that was the only time really we were able to break the lines, when they were settled. Any other time was just them on a counter. And I think with the quality we have, these players, you know, if Guardiola was manager of us, these players would definitely be able to do more quick passing. I can guarantee you
100%.
that these players definitely have the quality. So it's about going with what we have at the moment. At the moment we have Nuno, and I'm not saying he's a terrible manager. I just think he's not an amazing one. I think that's the reality.
He's not a miracle man like what we need to get top 4 or anything like that.
He's not a world-class manager. We need a world-class manager if we want to compete with Tuchel and Klopp and Guardiola and all these teams with amazing squads.
Poch drew last night with Marseille, so maybe he's going to be looking for a job soon.
Maybe. Well, they're still top, aren't they?
Yeah, they are still top. There's just a few players I want to get through and talk about just before we get on to looking at these goal clips. First player I want to talk about is Romero. Obviously, he's come under a lot of praise for his game yesterday, and quite rightly so. I thought for the most part he played really well, aggressive, coming out from defence, starting attacks. That gallivanting run all the way, that started a really good attack that maybe we should have scored from. But, you know, we were talking about how he had Antonio in his pocket for the game yesterday. But there were a few moments where Antonio did muscle him off the ball.
There were a couple.
That were quite worrying to me. What did you make out of his performance yesterday?
I don't know how many duels him and Antonio had, but let's say it was 10, like I think Antonio came out on about 2 of them. I think not only first of all, Antonio is an absolute beast and a monster, and he comes out on top in a lot of duels against most centre-backs. So for Romero to be beaten twice, you have to take it, but I wouldn't say it was worrying. I think Romero, from 8 times out of 10, was absolutely dominant over Antonio and was winning. Not only was he winning the ball back, but he was actually setting up attacks while winning the ball back as well. He was being super aggressive, and it was actually allowing Tottenham to immediately go on the offensive as soon as he won the ball back, which was really, really great. I thought he was one on the ball who was composed. I remember there was one charge in the second half. He burst forward on the counter attack. I did think in the end he probably picked the wrong option. But he did.
Yeah,
it was really
gone for Son, shouldn't he?
Yeah, it was really confident of him to have been bursting forward like that. And again, he's also very new to the league. He's very new to how things happen around here. And I think yesterday again was an example of him like being that centre back that we need him to be. And I thought him and Dyer, to be fair, both had really strong showings together. And it's a shame that we end up on the losing side without a clean sheet, because I thought his performance probably warranted a clean sheet with how he played Romero. I thought he was brilliant. I know he got shoved aside a couple of times, but that happens. It does happen when you're playing against Antonio. Antonio, can you think of a stronger striker in the Premier League than Antonio in terms of strength? I can't think.
Not really.
I can't think of two. I can't think of who's stronger than him. So
no, not really. Maybe a Cavani or someone like that. I don't know.
Arguably, like he's in the top 3 at least. You know what I mean? So he's like it's going to happen. I think Van Dijk will probably get shoved at least once by Antonio. I would say.
I'm not sure about that.
I reckon he would. I think Antonio is one of the strongest, if not the strongest striker in the league. So I think the way he dealt with him was super impressive, despite the fact he did probably get shoved aside a couple of times. And I think, you know what, and you'll learn from those times he did get shoved aside, and it probably won't happen next time, I reckon.
No, look, there's no two ways about it. I'm very impressed with Romero, and I think that he's levels above anyone that we've got at centre-back.
Lukaku, someone said Lukaku, yeah, true.
Yeah, Lukaku as well.
Probably.
It did worry me slightly, kind of how, in those 2 moments, how easily he was kind of shoved off the ball. But I do still think that, he's our best centre-back by some way. And I do love him, and I think that he's got a lot of quality about him, and the things that he did do right yesterday were absolutely superb. So I don't want to go into it too much. But another player I want to talk about in not such a good way is Emerson Royal, because I thought he was shocking yesterday. I really did. I thought he looked uncomfortable on the ball. Every time he looked to go forward, he lost it. Defensively, I didn't think too much of him yesterday either. And it's a shame, because after 2 good performances, on the back of 2 good performances, I thought he was pretty poor yesterday.
I don't think he was shocking, but I don't think he was great either. I think it was a pretty average display from him. I think going forward, I didn't think he looked too uncomfortable, to be fair. I don't think he didn't create much, which was a blot against him. I thought when he was on the ball going forward in the final third,
he was weak on the ball.
I didn't think he was weak on the ball. I felt he wasn't against Villa, he was running past people, whipping crosses, and he wasn't doing that.
I don't even think he beat a man once yesterday.
No, he didn't do that. But I think what he did do was he kept possession pretty well. I think he was finding players inside. Like, he wasn't a liability on the ball, is my point when I say that. I didn't think he was a player who was easily shoved off the ball or anything like that. Defensively, I don't think he was at his best. I think Fornals got a better of him a couple of times. I didn't think he was. Again, I don't think he was shocking. I don't think he was. I don't think he was beaten time and time again. I think by and large he was okay. He was competent. I would say it was like a 4 or 5 out of 10 if I was like rate him. I didn't think he was like terrible, but yeah, it definitely was a step down from his previous performances. I agree with that.
I mean, when you're talking about a 4 or 5 out of 10, it's just not good enough. It's just not good enough.
Well, we want him to be 7, 8, obviously. But I don't think he was shocking. Is my point. That's just I didn't see like a terrible performance from him. I thought it was average. That's all I saw.
I thought it was below average from him. I thought it was below average. I don't think he did anything to really impact the game yesterday at all. I mean, I don't remember anything. I mean, maybe he kept the ball well in terms of sideways passing a bit here and there, But you're looking at your fullbacks to really look how Reguilon played yesterday. You know, he was attacking down the left-hand side. He was getting in good spaces. He was getting crosses in the box, albeit not all of them good crosses, but some of them good crosses. I think when you compare Reguilon and Emerson's performance yesterday, absolute night and day for me.
Yeah, but I get the feeling Emerson was told to stay back a bit from what I was seeing, because I think when you saw Skip was going a bit more further forward on the right-hand side a bit in the second half, I felt like Emerson might have been, I don't know if it's instruction or not, but I felt like, because we like doing this lopsided thing sometimes, so I feel like Emerson might have been told not to.
But I felt there were moments yesterday there for Emerson where he was trying to go forward and trying to beat a man, just wasn't happening for him. And he kept losing the ball and kept losing possession. So for me personally, I just don't think it was a good game at all from Emerson.
I don't remember too many times he was losing possession.
I just remember off the top of my head a couple of times. I can't remember who he lost it to or anything like that. But, you know, he was trying to beat his man on the right-hand side of the pitch and kept losing it.
All right, fair enough. I don't remember too many times he did that. But look, I'm not saying just because you're told to stay back, or predominantly, doesn't mean you never go forward. It just means you go forward a lot less than Reguilon, was my point, which he did. And look, but I agree. He wasn't great. Reguilon was a lot better, and he needs to be better. I think he was definitely a step down. But I just didn't think it was, shocking. Was he our worst player? Potentially. Potentially he was our worst player. I'll agree with that.
Another player I want to talk about is Højbjerg. Him and his partner Skip, I thought Skip was brilliant on the day, but Højbjerg, I thought he was putting himself about a bit, but his passing was so bad yesterday. How many times did he lose possession yesterday, Højbjerg?
I'm not sure about the actual stats, but I know, usually his switches of play to Reguilon on point most of the time, and yesterday they were not. The amount of times he played the ball over the top to Reggie, and it was just out of play. Every time. Over his head. Really disappointing. Reggie was getting in some good positions, but unfortunately, the passing to him a lot of the time was really, really poor. In the second half, it got a bit better, but first half it was really, really bad actually from Højbjerg by and large. I think he didn't try. I can't remember too many times he tried passing, going progressive passes into Ndombele and stuff like that. I didn't think he was terrible. I thought Skip was a lot better than him. But Højbjerg was okay again, but again wasn't his passing wasn't great. I thought his combativeness was decent.
His combativeness was really good. It's just that his passing really let us down yesterday, which is the actual situation. But any other players that I wanted to talk about? Not really. I mean, Lucas Moura, I thought had a poor game yesterday. Heung-min Son was trying really hard, getting in really good positions, and everyone was failing to find him. And Harry Kane, how do you assess Harry Kane's performance yesterday?
I think he had a poor game. I did think he had a poor game. I think in general he wasn't great. I don't think he was any worse than Lucas or Son, personally. I don't think he was. I
actually think Son was better than him.
I don't think he was. I don't see why he was better than him.
I think Son was putting in a lot more effort than Harry Kane yesterday. He was getting in some really good positions. On the ball, Son didn't really have much to do. So maybe on the ball, Harry Kane was better just because he got on the ball a lot more than him. But Harry Kane, I thought he looked a bit lethargic yesterday. I thought that he should have done better with some of the opportunities he had, and that obviously that cross into Son, and obviously that defending from that set piece as well.
He had a lot more duels than Son.
Yeah.
And he won a lot more duels than Son. I don't know. I didn't see that personally.
If I'm going to give them a rating, we'll see the player ratings later, but I'll just give you a sneak preview to what I'll give them too. But I'll give probably Son a 5 and Kane a 4.
I wouldn't personally. I would probably give them both a 4.
That defending for the goal was shocking.
Yeah, we'll go into the.
You have to mark him down for that.
Yeah,
you have to.
I mean, it wasn't great, but I think there are reasons for it. But I think it was definitely. I don't know why he doesn't get goal side. It all happened so quickly.
Shall we have a look at it?
All right. Well, we've got a few clips to back up. And what I'm saying about in terms of Harry Kane's performance overall, it wasn't a good performance. Obviously, I think in a very difficult circumstance, West Ham were dominating him in the air most of the time. The only time he got a header on was he went on Cresswell in the back end of the first half. He wasn't good. I can admit that, but I also think the rest of the front line weren't particularly great either, and it was difficult for them to create chances. And I wouldn't single out Kane is my point in terms of that. Just wouldn't.
All right, let's have a look at the clip or the stills.
All right, one sec. Let me get them up. So we'll first look at. One sec. Yeah. So this is the lead up to the goal, which you see we're in quite a decent position here, defensively. Fornals is looking at that pass over there to this side. I'm not sure who. I think I think it might be Souček there. We're in a good position. Reguilon actually does really well to intercept the pass. Where is it? What's going on here? Oh, there you go. He does really well to intercept the pass. He gets it here. He steps in, intercepts it. That's pretty good play from him. But then once he intercepts it, he's got 3 players here to his left. He's got 2 players here to his left he can pass it to, but he decides to try and knock it forward like that. I don't understand why he does that when he's got space. That's Reguilon. He does really well to intercept the pass, but then instead of playing it to one of these two and then progressing forward, and actually that could have, you see, look, you got Ndombele here, you've probably got Kane and Son further forward. We could have probably set up an attack there if he plays this right Reguilon with this interception, because look, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, even potentially 6 there Cresswell players in the Spurs half. If we can get this ball forward quickly, we could actually be creating an opportunity. He decides to try and knock the ball forward, and unfortunately ends up losing the ball to Fornals, which obviously creates opportunity. He has a shot which Lloris saves, and then one sec, and then obviously that leads to the corner which they scored from. So let's go into the corner now. So if you look at the ball here, where's the here we are. So the ball's like there. There's the trajectory of the ball right there. You've got 1, 2, 3 players here at the front post before Harry Kane. Harry Kane is like here.
Yeah.
There's Harry Kane and Antonio. You got 4 players here before it hits Harry Kane, and the trajectory isn't really that high. In fact, in the next shot, I'll bring up the ball. The ball is around here, really low trajectory, and even there, before it hits Kane here, there's 3 players. There's 1 player there, Lucas, going for the ball. I think it's just about to go over his head, and there's 3 other players there at the front post. And look how low the ball is. The ball's right here. So I don't understand how. I was trying to think, how the hell did it get to Harry Kane, Antonio? And not only did it get to him, it got to him at his foot over here, so low. I was thinking, how could it got so low to him? I didn't understand it until I took a closer look. But first of all, look at Kane's defending before we go into how he got through to the front post. So Kane here, just before the ball comes over, he is actually in front of Antonio, if you can see here. He's in front of his leg here, right? Mm-hmm. So how does Antonio get a march on him? As the ball comes across, Kane thinks the ball's there. Look, there's 3 players there. He thinks at least one of them is going to get on it. So I think
who are those 3 players?
Dyer. Sorry, there's Skip, there's Højbjerg, and there's Reguilon there.
From that screenshot right there, it looks like Dyer's just going to head that away.
Sorry, there's Skip there. There's Skip, there's Højbjerg there, challenging with Souček and Reguilon.
Who's challenging Souček?
Højbjerg is there, and there's Skip as well. Skip and Højbjerg both on Souček. And he doesn't get anything on it, but Harry Kane, I think he thinks one of them's going to get there. And then as soon as it goes over his head, then that's how. Then as soon as it goes over them, then it's just about who's quickest to react. And it was Antonio was quickest to react than Kane.
It must have been too high because who's that? Skip there or Højbjerg there jumping? Yeah. They're jumping and it goes over the head.
No, I'll tell you why it went through them. I'll show you why it went through them in a minute. But it shouldn't. I tell you, it shouldn't have gone through them, and I'll tell you why it went through them. But Kane, and it was very, very basically Kane, because here, look, Kane has him. Kane is in front of him there. You can see his legs in front of him. But as soon as it goes over their heads, that's when, and then it's just a race between who can react quicker, Kane or Antonio, because it was a bit of a shock. It actually went over them, and Antonio won that race. He reacted quicker than Kane. Kane failed to react, in all honesty, which is a shame. And it
Why
goes
is
in.
Kane on Antonio anyway?
Great question. That's a question for... Look, Romero's on Ogbonna here. Everyone asking, where's Romero? So Romero's got Ogbonna. Ogbonna scored last week against Everton, so you know he's a big threat from set pieces. So I'm guessing that's the reason. But I've looked, how did it get through this first bit? I've actually analysed it. And what happened is, and I actually think this should have been a foul. So you got Højbjerg here, and Souček challenging for it. Højbjerg is ahead of him. He's goal side. But when it comes to the front post, if you can see here, it's hard to see because of the frame rate. But if you watch the replay of the goal, Souček's arm goes onto Højbjerg's head. You can see his arm there. I don't know if it's very hard to see, but you can see his arm his arm is on his head there. His arm is he's literally shoved his head on his arm. If you watch the replay, you can literally see Souček literally shove his head. Højbjerg doesn't really make anything of it because it's just a challenge. But as soon as Souček challenges Højbjerg's head with his arm, he pushes it, Højbjerg's head goes down, and then it goes over Højbjerg's head into Kane and Antonio. That's how it gets through.
So what are you trying to say then? Whose fault is it? What are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say it should have been a foul.
Should have been a foul.
I'm trying to say it should have been a foul. But because Højbjerg doesn't really make a meal of it, he doesn't say anything. He just assumes he lost the challenge. It goes through to Antonio and Kane. Kane is caught flat-footed because he doesn't expect it to go through. Antonio, being a striker, he's expecting something to happen, a mistake. That's what they do. Kane obviously failed to react, which is a blot against him, which he should have reacted. But it's difficult to react so quickly. Look at the distance between that. It's a very small amount of distance, and it's whipped in with a lot of pace. And the only reaction time is from here to here. That's the only reaction time because it's difficult. Because Kane is expecting Højbjerg or one of Højbjerg and Skip to actually win that header. So that's how it's got through. Mm-hmm. But if you look at it, Højbjerg is about to win it until Souček kind of puts his arm across Højbjerg's face. You watch the replay, that's what happens. It makes Højbjerg's head go down, and then it falls to Kane, and it goes into the back of the net. And that's what happens.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So that's the goal. Just come back to the wide a sec. All right, so that's the goal. In terms of Spurs, everyone says we lacked chances. We didn't hurt West Ham at all yesterday and stuff like that. I don't think that's necessarily true. And I'll show you because I think we created opportunities where the stats won't reflect what happened, basically. Like XG won't account for some of these situations Tottenham created and stuff like that. First of all, I want to look at in the first half. This was a situation we created, but it was pretty much similar. We did this a few times in the second half, but in the first half here. So, one sec. Get that up. There you go. So first half, this happened time and time again. The ball's being played here into Antonio. Romero's behind him, but Romero, because he's super aggressive, he's able to step in front of him and win the ball back, as he does here. He's able to outmuscle Antonio, win the ball back. But it seemed to be a trigger. Whenever Romero wins the ball back, it seemed to be a trigger for Tottenham. As soon as he wins it back, people would burst forward and we would create a chance. And this seemed to happen again. This was in the first half. This is leading on to how a few times happened in the second half. So the first half happens here. Here's Son. Romero quickly plays the ball into Son. He plays a 1-2 with he plays the ball into Ndombele here. He plays the ball into Ndombele there. And Ndombele waits for the run for Son. Because it's in transition, West Ham are not settled in their back four. And Ndombele is able to play that ball in behind there to Son, who's running forward here, because he's got a run on Ogbonna. But here, I think Son, no one's really talking about this, he has to square that. He has to square that to Kane. Kane's absolutely free. He's ahead of Zuma, where if he squared it, Zuma couldn't really have blocked it. So I'm actually, no one really points this out, but Son had to square that to Kane. It would have been 1-0. That was a mistake by Sonny. But that happened in the first half. It happened only once or twice in the first half. Cut back to wide for a sec. So that was what happened in the first half, right? But then everyone keeps saying that Spurs in the second half had no threat. They didn't hurt West Ham at all. But that's not what happened. If you see the chances, if you see what happened in the, one sec. If you see the opportunities we created, these are, I'll show you now, these are things that stats don't really account for. And I'll show you some of the opportunities that Spurs really could have scored from in that second half, where everyone says we had no threat and we didn't create anything. We did, and I'll show you. So the first one, one sec, here we go.
I don't think anyone said we had no threat in the second half.
Everyone
were saying
says
that
it
we didn't have any
unacceptable.
shots
We had
on
no
target.
shot.
No shots
I know
on target.
I know we had no shots.
No one
but
said the threat. I think that people were saying shots on target.
No, people are saying that.
Well, that's what from what I've seen, it said shots on target.
People are saying we didn't hurt West Ham. We didn't do anything.
Because we didn't have a shot on target.
No, but that's not what hurting West Ham is.
What is
creating opportunities, which we should have scored from.
Well, you can read it both ways. You know, it's not just that way. You can only.
That's not Nuno's fault. We didn't have because the player didn't shoot. That's not Nuno's fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but what I keep saying, it's because of I think that we did create, but it's the lack of quality in the final third. I'm saying
the narrative at the moment in the second half is that everyone keeps going on about how we had no shots and how we didn't do anything to West Ham, and I'm just showing how that's not true. We did.
Let's have a look.
In the second half. So again, the trigger is Romero. He wins the ball. He's over here challenging Antonio. He wins the ball back. Again, and again, it's a trigger for Tottenham to attack. Here's Ollie Skip. This is literally just a second half of starting. He plays an absolutely beautiful ball here through to Ndombele.
That was brilliant.
Unbelievable pass from Ollie Skip. Opens up West Ham. Again, they're not in their settled back four because we're in transition. So it's Ndombele's there. And now Ndombele wants to get it into this area here. Oh, one sec. And Ndombele needs to get it into this area here to find Harry Kane. Kane's running in the back post. Unfortunately, he gets it around there. Not a great ball. Fabianski picks it up. That was one opportunity which Spurs could have scored from in the second half. Next one was here. And Ndombele, again, this is actually the only time Spurs were able to break down a settled back four from West Ham. And Ndombele's here. He does a little nutmeg on Rice, plays it into Lucas. Lucas then plays a lovely through ball into Sonny. Very quick stuff. Sorry, into Reguilon. Reguilon's free on the left-hand side. He bursts down on the overlap. And then once Reguilon's in this position, Ollie Skip is there, as you can see, in this area. Obviously, it's a difficult ball here to get past Ben Johnson and find Ollie Skip. But what he does is he finds it beyond Ben Johnson, but actually curls behind Skip. I don't know if Skip overruns it or Reguilon's ball is too hard and just behind Skip. But unfortunately, he actually seems to get it beyond Johnson, but behind Skip. And that was another opportunity where a bit further forward is another tap-in, another opportunity for Spurs to score and get a goal. No shot, but clear opening.
Yeah.
Last one. Again, Romero wins the ball back. Another trigger for Tottenham to attack. Happened time and time again yesterday. Romero's here, winning the ball off Declan Rice in this position here. There's Romero. He then charges forward. he himself on the counter-attack. Probably should have slipped in Son there because he's got, look at that space he's got to run into, Son. So much space. He probably should have slipped him in there. He decides to go out wide this way to Harry Kane. Maybe because he's facing that way. He's a centre-back, not a naturally creative player. Then Harry Kane's on the ball. Over here. Son has all that space to run into here. Oh, bit of a heart shape. Has all that space to run into. But Kane's ball, again, needs to be there. But it kind of goes, again, too close to the keeper. He was able to come out. And again, the chance was gone. And that was another opportunity where Spurs could have hurt West Ham 3 times in the opening 11 minutes of that half. We should have scored at least one of those chances. We didn't. The quality wasn't there, and unfortunately, that's probably what cost us at the end of the day, not taking any of these chances.
Yeah, definitely, and exactly what I was saying yesterday, exactly what I've been saying on the stream, that we were getting in good positions, but we couldn't do anything with it with our lack of quality in the final third via Harry Kane, via Reguilon, via Ndombele, via Heung-min Son.
I felt like it was the tactics that got us in those positions.
It was the tactics, but you should still have better tactics about you that you can actually create chances without being on the transition. You can create chances from building from the back. You know what I mean? Like, it still wasn't good enough in my opinion.
I'm not saying it was good enough. Obviously, it wasn't good enough because we didn't score. And
I agree with you. I agree with you in terms of that. Yeah,
I'm just saying. I read a lot of people on social media saying how like that was the worst second half I've ever seen and stuff like that. I don't think it was.
You're talking about 3 chances in the first 11 minutes. Did we create anything after that?
No, we didn't.
That's what I'm saying. It is not good enough then. I mean,
I never said it was good.
I'm
not saying it's good enough.
We created three openings that could have created chances. We didn't create like proper
that's not nothing, is my point.
No, it's not nothing.
It's not nothing. Which people say was one of the worst second halves I've ever seen and stuff like that. And I've read people. I've just seen a lot of people say, "Oh, no shots in the second half. We didn't create anything." But it's not true. No chances we did.
It wasn't the worst second half I've ever seen, but it was still pretty bad.
It wasn't good enough because we ended up losing the game. But we could have easily, if we would have scored one of those chances, it would have been a completely different story and a bit of better quality. And we're talking about a different result here.
Yeah.
And someone said in the comments, so we created 3 chances in 90 minutes. No, those are just the second half. In the first half, I could have brought more, but no one saw. First half, everyone says we played all right. Which I thought we were okay. I thought in the general we were okay. I didn't think it was a great performance, but I think we were better than West Ham.
We were better than West Ham.
And in terms of, those 3 chances I just showed you, that's probably more than West Ham created throughout that whole second half, despite them winning. That's probably the reality. So when it comes to looking better, my point is when it's 2 very close in quality sides and it's a very tight game like that, when you create 3 big openings like that, you got to take advantage of it because it's so tight. It's not a guarantee that you're going to be able to do that again.
Yeah.
And West Ham, as we saw, West Ham, they weren't able to create such good opportunities against us because it was such a tight game. But we didn't take advantage of what we had. They obviously got a bit of luck from the set piece, as I showed. Souček with a foul and whatever. And that's it. We end up losing the game.
The fact of the matter is that's probably one of West Ham's, if not West Ham's worst performance of the season. It's probably one of our better performances of the season.
Yeah, probably.
That's also hard to take.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, for one of our better performances of the season to have no shots on target in the second half, no matter what kind of openings we were creating, to have no shots on target in the second half, to not score when we're on top in the first half. I mean, yeah, I'm struggling. I know we didn't play terribly well. I know that we weren't terribly bad. But it's just hard to take when you lose a game to West Ham and going down, I wouldn't say without a fight, but without any clear-cut chances.
Yeah. I would say what I would say, though, about what people are complaining about, those last 20 minutes, people could rightly complain about that, for sure. Those last 20 minutes were terrible to watch, was terrible football, was we couldn't create anything against them. We couldn't lay a glove on West Ham. But I feel like that's just the way we're being coached at the moment. That's the tactics of Nuno. Whether you like it or not, he's got a way. Every manager has their own way of playing, right? They have their own tactics and how they like to play the game. And if I don't think it's totally Nuno's fault that his tactics didn't end up getting the result.
It's not no, you're right about that. It's not totally Nuno's fault why we didn't get a result in this specific game, but it is Nuno's fault why we're not impacting games more effectively than we are.
That's Nuno's fault. I would say that. But yeah, I agree with that. And I would say those last 20 minutes, I would say 100% that's on Nuno. I would say that. Those last 20 minutes about how bad we were in terms of trying to break West Ham down, that's on Nuno, because he's got to coach the team with patterns of play and movement.
We're not
and
bloody,
and
you know
stuff
what I mean?
like
We're
that.
not bloody Wolves where we have to just rely on transitions and counter-attacks.
Correct.
That's not what we are. We're Tottenham Hotspur. We've got enough quality in this team to play on the front foot, to play nice, progressive football. We've
Correct.
got enough quality on that
Agreed.
team.
Agreed. And that's on Nuno.
Yeah.
But Nuno has his way of playing, and I'm just saying his way of playing should have borne out a result yesterday.
But Nuno's way of playing is not suited for a team that's going for top 4 or top 6. I'm sorry. Nuno's way of playing is for a team that, that maybe doesn't have enough quality and, want to get results in a different way.
You could argue that. You could argue that. I wouldn't. I mean, that's what he's been with Wolves, isn't it? It depends. Nuno's way can be successful. It could have been successful yesterday. Unfortunately, it went against him. Do I think his way of playing is not for a team that wants to play top 4? Based on what I saw yesterday, probably not. Yeah, you could probably get top 6 with it, but don't think you can get top 4 with it. I probably agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, that is our match review from the West Ham loss yesterday.